Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kobosko Talks. I have a very, very special guest today, Stine Bosse. Stine, great to have you with me today.
Thank you.
Stine Bosse is a Danish politician, lawyer, and a businesswoman, member of the European Parliament from Renew Europe, currently my colleague from the Renew Europe. Stine serves as vice chair of the Committee of Public Health, as a member of the Committee on the Environment, Climate and Food Safety, and a substitute member of the Committee on Budget. She's also the shadow rapporteur for the 2026 EU budget. She previously led Tryg, the largest insurance company in the Nordic region. She has been named, not once, but twice, among the most influential businesswomen in the world. She's strongly engaged in shaping Europe's response to the key challenges such as defense, climate and migration, bringing her leadership experience to the heart of EU policy making. Stine, again, great to have you with me on a program today. Before we start discussing the extremely serious and sad global issues, let me ask this very personal question, because you are a very successful businesswoman, a top manager in a top business, insurance business. What really brought you to politics? What made you change your mind after so many successful years on the insurance side?
Well, honestly, I think I have always had a politician inside me. And people often told me, or even when I was a CEO, you are inside really a politician, and I was always rejecting it. And to be honest, I think I was a bit afraid of the elections. So every time I was invited, I said no, thank you. And then I always said, if things got very bad, and if it was European politics, and if it was the right party, I would go. And that all boxes were ticked, and I had to go.
So you were a bit afraid of the elections themselves?
Yes, because, selling an insurance policy, or when I worked in the area of aid and humanitarian aid, right, selling that idea of giving money to a good purpose, that's one thing. But saying, vote for me, I have the right ideas, I am the right person, that was a different planet for me, and I really had to get used to it.
So it's very different selling the products, the financial product, from selling yourself.
Exactly.
I do understand that perfectly well.
Yeah.
Stina, look, we were all shocked in a way with the events in Poland over the night when the drones, Russian drones in a number of over 20, crossed our border, and some of them were shut down by the airplanes, by the fighter jets, but still that was the first time ever that such a massive action of Russian military was clearly targeted against the EU member state and the NATO ally. What were your feelings, and how do you think the EU should and could react to such incidents?
I can tell you, I feel deep down very European. That has a story to it. My mother was English, my daddy was Danish, so I've always felt that sort of the European Union was the umbrella. So when incidents like this happened, I get furious on behalf of all of us. And I really cannot see anything else, that we need to react and react together and show exactly the solidarity that is needed in situations like this. And then I want to add, I think, and I've always said, and this goes 10 years back, people like Putin, you have to look them straight in the eye, and you have to do exactly what you promised to do. And that is where I think we are today. We need to be much more firm, much more deliberate, much more together. And the countries that don't want to be together, to be a bit frank, we will have to say to them, excuse us, but if you want the protection, the finances, the whole body of the European Union, you need to step up and stand side by side, for example, with Poland.
So what specifically we could do, what else we could do? Introduce additional sanctions or work on the military side, first of all?
I think here and now, definitely much more on the sanction side of things, and much more sort of thoroughly. So there are no loopholes. And even though Putin can travel to and say hello to Xi and hello to Modi and whatever he's been doing, he is also struggling with his finances. And we have to hit him exactly there where we can. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we need to get our act together military in Europe. And I'm not talking about an EU army or anything like that. I don't think down those roads. But I do think down the roads that we need to step up, to have much more production, to have much more aligned cooperation. And we need also to make sure that we have aligned foreign policies, also where it is not possible for one or two countries to veto.
A lot of that, what you just said, depends on money, on funding, obviously. We are in the early discussions about the MFF, the multi-annual budget of the European Union.
Yeah.
And you are deeply into these discussions and decision-making on the side of the Parliament. What kind of a budget we should be expecting? What is realistic? Should we be expecting the realistic budget that also really responds to the current challenges and also the, events like the natural disasters, for example, which you cannot ever anticipate, and then they just happen more and more often. So what kind of budget is realistic?
We have a very, very good commissioner for budget, the Polish Zapraszam.
Yeah.
And he said once, and I am going to keep him accountable on that sentence, he said, everything we can do better and cheaper together, we must. Defense is an obvious area. The big electrical grid,
Yeah.
and it could also be hydro, but let's just talk about the electrical grid. And of course, also making sure that we can actually handle the climate change that has already occurred. These three areas is, in my opinion, obvious areas. We cannot do this country by country. We can only do it by working together. There are also areas in the health area that I could comment on, but let's stay on this one. These three areas are obvious areas, and here we shall and must do more together.
You wanted to add something on the healthcare as well?
No, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, if you take, for example, the question of rare diseases
Yeah.
and the question of antibiotic resistance, if you take these two areas, we cannot solve them country by country because rare means not a lot of data,
Just
not
with-
a lot
as
of
with the
knowledge.
pandemics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can only do this together. And this for people who are affected with rare diseases, have a child with rare disease, for example, they know this well. And they know that sometimes the solution is in Spain or in Denmark or in Poland. Why not go where the solution is? This is the way we need to think in Europe, and it will be better because we will be able to actually cope with situations, and at the end of the day, also cheaper.
Then there is a huge area of our cooperation with the United States, so
Yes.
transatlantic cooperation that we basically discuss every day,
Yeah.
not also at our Renew Europe group meetings. Where are you in these discussions? Because from my perspective, the US is and should remain our key partner for obvious and numerous reasons. However, we hear some voices also in this House that, well, we will need to finally to rely on ourselves. Much more should be on our side because Trump is where he is, so we do not know basically where he is. How do you see this situation ongoing?
I mean, we're getting to know very well where Mr. Trump and his US is. And that brings me to say that, yes, we should not leave the room. We should stay allies, obviously. We should stay aligned also in many areas of trade and so on, of course. But let's not be naive. Let's not make ourselves smaller and less meaningful and important than we are. We are the place in the world where countries are seeking to be part of the union, where people want to come in many cases too many, to come into our union and to live here. Where else in the world do we see this? This is because we have something very, very strong and important that we serve our citizens with. Strong healthcare systems, strong taxpayer systems where we actually have strong societies. This we have to turn into a big plus, and then of course cooperate with Mr. Trump, but also with others in the rest of the world.
But when you look at Mr. Trump, for example, he's a businessman, as you were
Yes.
on the business side.
Sure.
How do you see his negotiation techniques? Are they smart? Do you think that he achieved anything, for example, while meeting Putin in Alaska?
I don't know if I will shock you or disappoint you, but he wouldn't last long in business in Denmark. Because the way he says one thing and then he does another thing, that is not sustainable in the business world. It might be sustainable right now for him as President of the United States because they have the muscles. They have all the firepower in the world, which is at the moment very, very important. And it's also important for us. But we need to make sure that we can match that, not necessarily in firepower, but in an eye-to-eye situation where we will be respected again. And here I really think the European solidarity and the fact that we stick together and work together and cooperate and get rid of all the silly things we have done to the single market. We have invented tariffs. That's not wise. Let's get rid of all that to step up and to be able to match him.
That's a tricky challenge, and specifically, I would say for Denmark, you are holding the presidency in the Council this part of the year. You took it over from Poland, and then we have this delicate issue of Greenland,
Yes.
obviously.
Yes.
And I understand that one of the key topics for the Danish presidency. How do you see the situation right now? Mr. Trump, from my perspective, doesn't seem to be repeating his demands on Greenland, but he never said that he would resign from, offering you a very sweetened offer to take over Greenland. So how do you see it?
I see it in this way. I worked 8 years in 2 different boards, one in the telco and actually one in oil exploitation industry in Greenland. So I know Greenland from the inside. And I know well that people of Greenland, they have issues with us in Denmark because we have been together for so long, and we were up here where they were down here for many years. So they have issues with us. Yeah. But they also see now that we are in a different mode. And they also see now that they need to think differently about their own identity. They like America. They want an open world. They have been looking forward to their new airports and the world opening up, traveling to the US and US people coming to Greenland. But they had never expected anybody to come and claim, now this is our territory. They would never accept this, and we shouldn't, of course. And the whole communication and cooperation with the US, they have longed for this, but now they are more reluctant. And I think that's very sad, actually. But it is showcasing, in my opinion, how not to do it. You have to meet people on the ground, eye to eye, and then we can work together.
Greenlanders, they're going to hold a referendum or their independence, as I understand. Would this be a problem for Denmark if they were to declare independence from Copenhagen? I
mean, Denmark has openly communicated that we are willing to give them more and more independence.
Yeah.
And I think that path is up to the people of Greenland to define how fast they can, how much they want, and so on and so forth. And they can do that within I would argue, within the European framework, with Europe as a backing, with Denmark still there. The Kingdom of Denmark means a lot to a lot of people in Greenland. The King and the Queen travel to Greenland, are very welcome there. So I think there is a construction where they will feel that they are more and more home in their own home and can decide and judge for themselves. But still, no country, not Denmark, I would argue not Poland, definitely not many of the Baltic countries also, cannot say that we can be alone in this world. We need each other, and we need our union and our working together to make sure that we are not suddenly erased as Europe.
I started with a personal question, so coming back to that at the very end, was there a single day that you were regretting your decision to join the politics, the European politics? How do you feel after this time here?
No, and this is also something that from time to time has really amazed me. I thrive here.
Yeah.
I like working with people like yourself. There are so many clever people. I like the diversity. I like to listen and understand what is the viewpoint from Poland, from Germany, from France. I think it educates you on a personal level. And for me, it is still encouraging, and I have a strong belief that Europe is strong and will continue to be even stronger.
I have exactly the same feelings. I love our mix of cultures, of societies, of languages, of experiences, and I'm also learning every day here. Stine, thanks a lot for accepting my invitation. Thank you very much. That was the Kobosko Talks. I want to thank you for watching our program and see you soon.